The World Peace Dome at Loni was the venue for the 4th National Conference on Media and Journalism on Peace Dialogue and Inclusivity, organized by MIT World Peace University through the School of Media and Communication. Media to Media Challenges Before Vernacular Legacy Media was the topic of one of the plenary sessions. Besides ex-MP and former journalist Shri Rahulu Anand Bhaskar, the panelists included Shri Yogesh Joshi, Bureau Chief Hindustan Times Pune, Ms. Prachi Kulkarni, Bureau Chief Sam Television Pune, and Shri Samrat Fadnis, Editor Sakal Media Group Pune. The topic for discussion was the changing Mediascape, credibility, revenue, and technology. This session was moderated by Shri Dheeraj Singh, Director, MIT World Peace University's School of Media and Communication.
In today's climate, we as a university also encourage our students to become startup initiators, have their own sort of, the university also gives them a seed fund, there's a whole incubation center. So that would be a wonderful idea. But coming to you, Prachiji, I'd like you to give some sort of tips on how to become an independent person, because you may think that this is not the right question for you, but you do actually have the experience because TV organizations, broadcast organizations increasingly expect their people to be independent units, especially if you're running a bureau, to shoot, to edit, and just send a story as fast as you can. And those are the capabilities we are giving to our students to be able to do that. Once they have those capabilities coming out of college, what are the options in front of them? When you do an analysis of the market, there is always a niche which large numbers available sitting, and there is always a gap in the sort of market which you can sort of exploit and make good money, make good audience out of it. So I'd just like you to sort of give a few pointers to our students about how to go about doing this.
When I started as a broadcast journalist, we used to do developmental stories. I used to work for a news channel called IBN Lokmat, and which was known for developmental journalism at that point of time. We ran stories from rural areas. We did half-an-hour reports, detailed reports on such any kind of issue. Like if there was an atrocity case, I remember covering an atrocity case where a boy was killed by local, a few people from other community just because he belonged to a particular caste, and he allegedly had an affair with a girl from upper caste. So you must have heard about movies like Sairar, but way before such movie came, we actually witnessed such a case, and we did an elaborate report on, I did an elaborate report on how such cases are increasing in that particular belt, and I spoke to multiple people who had faced caste atrocities. If you ask me to do something of sort and post it and get it aired on a television channel, I don't have that much space. And the reason is because the popularity index, or the standard that we have, is TRP. TRP is counted in multiple, like it's a statistical game basically, but then a particular time slot of the day has more weightage than a particular event would or would not have weightage for that particular day. If something huge is happening, you might not really be able to get any kind of gain through that. There are television channels which are just running political debates in terms of not the debates that used to happen on television channels earlier, but they'll go and ask a politician about his particular opinion about a particular thing, and they'll go and ask other politician about what this politician has said and get him to react, and that is all that they'll run through the day. That such stories are getting space, and we run in with a format that is called as speed news. Speed news is basically delivering 50 or 100 stories in half an hour's time slot. So you can imagine the kind of space or the time duration that a particular story gets. When I started, I was told that I need to write scripts for a story that would be minimum running for 1.5 minutes. And that proved to be a task because normally people were trained to be print journalists where they were asked to write 600 words, 700 or minimum 400 word stories. And for us to write a 1.5 minute story, it just meant like 6 or 7 sentences. Because it was going to include the interviews recorded, the bites are recorded. Today the scenario is changing, and it's changed to this extent that we have to deliver 100 stories in 30 minutes, including breaks. Like if we count the breaks, it's going to be a 18 or 15 minutes bulletin depending on the popularity of that particular channel. And you have to make sure that the content is delivered, capsule content is delivered, because we have to catch the attention of people. If we have the attention, we're going to have the TRP, and that's eventually going to translate into getting revenue. So this, when we are facing this challenge, content and credibility, keeping up with both these things are going to be a biggest task for a broadcast journalist. And if you want to become a broadcast journalist, you, like everybody said, not just for print media, but you have to be multitaskers in television as well. When I was studying, I was doing my mass communication course, I was like, I want to be a broadcast journalist, and why do I need to study editing or video editing, or why is it that I need to study how to operate a camera? But today, like I said, when we started this new channel, the reporter with a gimbal or a tripod or a selfie stick is recording the entire thing, sending it via mediums like WhatsApp or WeTransfer, and that channel entirely 24 hours news channel is running on that kind of content. If we want to keep up with that pace and reduce the investment, because revenue is going to be a challenge, like Yogesh said, channels like NDTV are switching to mobile journalism today. Their reporters, very senior reporters, have been trained how to operate mobile cameras and record. So a senior friend of mine who has been working as a bureau chief, he led the Mumbai bureau and now he shifted to Calcutta. He just carries his own tripod, his own mic, his own light, and his own mobile phone, and that's all that he needs. He doesn't need a cameraman, he doesn't need a OB-WAN. Simple softwares are coming up through which you can edit your own stories and post. So learning all these things is going to be a challenge. Like I said, I came from an era where I thought, why do I need to learn video editing? Today, I had to learn how to post a story on websites, dealing with those, I had to deal with those softwares. Obviously, the task there was making the headlines interesting, because you had to get the audience to read your stories online. So I have had to get trained, I had to keep learning. So that's going to be a challenge for everybody. And like I said, your mobile cameras, or probably in near future the technology might change even further, those are going to be the things, those are going to be the equipments you will be asked to handle. So keeping up and learning the new technology and learning the convergence is going to be the key to becoming a broadcast journalist, more than, I think, the presentation or the way you delivered the content, which were the challenges or the key factors earlier.
As we all learn from Prachi ji. And that's the true story of everyone who is involved in this business or industry of storytelling, is that you have to keep adapting yourself. You have to be a student for life once you sign up for this field, because technology is changing, the way you told stories is changing, markets are changing, new media is coming up, new ways of reaching out have evolved over the years. But one of the key things or key elements that remains is storytelling. How good you are at your craft, how well you are able to capture the attention, imagination of your reader or your audience, which is one of the biggest things. And ironically, this is one thing that cannot be taught. No amount of teaching can help you become a good storyteller. It has to be something that works from within. Your own deep curiosities have to drive you forward into becoming a great storyteller. And that is actually the key of being relevant, being read, being watched, and so on and so forth. One of the important or most interesting things about India as a country is that we have a plethora of stories. There's so much diversity. There is so much differences. There's so much class differences, so much economic differences. Of course, cultural differences. Anyone who wants to go into the field of cultural reporting will find that the country is full of variations and varieties in people's dress, food, and so on. So what I'd like to understand from our panel here, anyone can take up this this question, is how do we understand the craft, or how do we come to grips with the craft of storytelling when we are dealing with so much variety and so much diversity? How do we ace that? How do we master that? Of course, experience is one of the things, and the layers which are available in a traditional organization. By layers, I mean there's so many filters, because once you submit your story, it goes to a desk, it goes to the news editor, there is another person who is responsible to check the veracity and credibility. There's so many people sitting with years of experience who will ask you very key questions that you may have forgotten to ask during your reporting time at the field. So those layers are there. But how do we help these young minds to develop ways and mechanisms to understand the craft of storytelling better?
No, I was just going to add to what Yogesh had mentioned earlier, because these things that you mentioned, the stories being recorded, those going to the desk, getting edited and stuff, we are way beyond all of that now. I recently met a group of people who come from a town called Barshi. They, like Yogesh mentioned about Bhadipa, they started a YouTube channel where they came up with a character called Trump Tatya. It was based on Trump, and the character used to comment on whatever was happening, anything and everything around their town or around the world. So local to global was their formula. They came up with rap songs, they came up with multiple videos, and that became a popular channel, revenue generating channel. So much so that within a year they were offered collaborations, and that they became self-sustaining model.
So
Experimenting is the key. Experimenting is the most important thing in today's era, today's times. And I feel that while you need to come up with your own original ideas, it's also going to be important to be creative and come up with things that are going to catch the attention of people. And that's again a challenge, because it's going to be decided by the algorithms of that particular application that you're going to use, whether it's Meta, whether it's Twitter, or whether it's YouTube.
Experimental and thinking out of the box is actually very key to remaining relevance and developing your craft. Bhaskarji would like to add some.
Capture the imagination. That's all. Capture the imagination. How? We are presently here in Loni, land of Raj Kapoor, the legend. He just lived with Ganga. What is Ma Ganga? माने तो माँ गंगा हूं, ना माने तो बहती पानी. With that, what he has made? He made wonders. Take the case of Abraham Lincoln. Take the case of John F. Kennedy. Latest, take the case of Barack Obama. Even take the case of Rishi Sunak. In India, take the case of Mahatma Gandhi. Take the case of Narendra Bhai Modi. Even I come from Telangana. Take the case of K. Chandrasekhar Rao, KCR, the famous. They are all story presenters, storytellers. They make their story. You make story of somebody else. What is story? The human interest, capturing imagination. New twist to the old story is news. Likewise, data can be story. Data can also attract. Development can also attract. Medicine can also attract. Every field can also attract in its own newness. Capturing newness, capture the imagination. Capturing the imagination through your own senses and capacities will make you and give you the standard of storytelling, and you will automatically become the standard to measure with. In the society presently, everybody is a storyteller. They are making their own case. So alertness, as Dheeraj ji has mentioned, eternal learning. We have to be up to date, not only up to date up to now, even up to tomorrow. All the best.